The pin drops onto the wood of the defense table with a sound so small it shouldn't matter. But it does. Every person in courtroom 4B hears it. The bailiff near the door. The court reporter whose fingers go still above her keys. The young clerk who looks up from a stack of folders he was pretending to read. They all hear that tiny, precise sound. A pin no larger than a thumbnail, with a faded blue ribbon and something dark at its center, coming to rest against the grain of old oak. And the man who was told to remove it sits back in his chair without a word. His hands, weathered and thick at the knuckles, fold together in his lap. His face does not change. His eyes, the gray-blue of November sky over water, stay fixed on the middle distance, the way a man's eyes fix on something that is no longer in the room. Why has he come here alone? No lawyer, no family in the gallery. And why, when the judge leaned forward and said, "Remove that pin or I'll hold you in contempt," did something in the room shift, something that had nothing to do with the law? His name is Walter Ray Cobb, 71 years old. He walks with a slight drag of his left boot, barely noticeable unless you're watching for it, and most people never watch for it. He arrived at the Harlan County Courthouse at 7:48 this morning, 17 minutes before the doors opened, and stood on the front steps in a gray canvas jacket, a flannel shirt the color of river mud, and those boots. He held a paper cup of gas station coffee in both hands, the way men hold warmth when warmth is the only luxury left. He did not speak to anyone. He waited. When the doors opened, he walked to the third floor without asking for directions, found the courtroom, took a seat in the back of the public gallery, and read from a small paperback book whose cover was too worn to make out the title. He is not the defendant. He is here about a piece of land. 37 acres his late wife's family farmed for 4 generations, now entangled in a property dispute with a development company whose name appears on the side of 3 buildings visible from the courthouse window. A civil matter. Routine, the court's intake officer had said on the phone. Routine, as though a man's last connection to the woman he buried 14 months ago could be filed under routine. The courtroom fills slowly. A Tuesday in late October, cool enough that the old radiator along the east wall ticks and breathes. The smell of the room is paper and dust and something faintly metallic, the way old government buildings smell, like the air has been recycled through decades of decisions. The wood of the gallery bench is smooth from use, and Walter sits with his back straight, the paperback closed now on his knee, watching the room with the patient attention of a man who has spent considerable portions of his life waiting in places far less comfortable than this. The development company's legal team arrives at 8:59. 3 of them, young, suited, carrying the particular confidence that comes from being paid very well to be right. Their lead attorney is a man named Preston Haley. Walter will learn the name from the placard the clerk sets up, who is perhaps 38 years old and has the sharp, impatient face of someone for whom time is always being wasted by other people. Haley sets his briefcase on the table, opens it, and does not look at Walter at all, which is its own kind of looking. The judge enters. The Honorable Marcus D. Crewe, according to the nameplate, 53, heavy through the shoulders, the kind of man who was once athletic and now carries that history as bulk. He settles into his chair, adjusts his glasses, and scans the room. He sees Walter. He sees the pin on Walter's lapel, a small dark thing with a blue ribbon positioned just above the left breast pocket of the canvas jacket. He does not say anything yet. He calls the docket. He confirms the parties. He asks if the plaintiff has representation. Walter says, "No, Your Honor. I'll be speaking for myself today." Preston Hale sets down his pen and glances at his colleagues. One of them almost smiles. Almost. The hearing has been in motion for perhaps 11 minutes when Judge Crewe removes his glasses, sets them on the bench, and looks at Walter directly. "Mr. Cobb." His voice carries the resigned weight of a man who believes efficiency to be a virtue above most others. Before we continue, that pin you're wearing. Walter's hands rest on the table. He does not move. This is a court of law, not a parade ground. I'd ask you to remove any decorations that might distract from the proceedings. Crewe replaces his glasses. Please remove it now. The room is quiet. The radiator ticks. The court reporter's fingers hover. Walter looks at the judge for a long moment. Long enough that Haley looks over, curious despite himself. Long enough that the bailiff near the door, a compact man named Gerald Briggs, who has worked this courthouse for 22 years, shifts his weight almost imperceptibly. Then Walter reaches up with his right hand, unpins the small piece of metal from his lapel, and sets it on the defense table. That tiny sound. Pin on oak. He folds his hands back in his lap and says nothing. Judge Crewe nods once, satisfied, and looks back at his papers. Now, the respondent's complaint regarding the southern boundary line, and the hearing continues. Haley presents survey documents. He presents a county easement filing from 2019. He speaks about market valuations and residential development potential and the broader economic benefit to the region. And he speaks about all of these things with the smooth efficiency of a man who does this every week and wins every week. Walter listens. He asks 2 questions, quiet, specific questions about the dates on the original deed and the procedure by which the easement was submitted, and Haley answers them with barely concealed impatience, the way adults answer children who are holding up a process they don't fully understand. During a brief recess, Haley steps into the aisle near the water fountain and speaks in a low voice to one of his colleagues, but not low enough. Guy came in here without a lawyer. Old-timer thinks he can... He does not finish the sentence. He doesn't need to. The colleague nods. They straighten their jackets and go back in. The pin sits on the table. The court reporter, a woman named Donna Estep, who has been in this room since before either attorney was licensed to practice, glances at it once and then looks away. Something in her face tightens slightly. Gerald Briggs, the bailiff, has not looked away from it for longer than necessary, but no one notices that either. The hearing resumes. Haley produces a final exhibit, a purchase agreement already signed by the development company, already dated, presented as though the outcome is a formality the court is performing as a courtesy. He slides a copy toward Walter across the table. If the respondent would simply review the terms, Walter does not pick up the document. Haley looks at him. Mr. Cobb, the offer is more than fair. It is not the land they wanted. Walter's voice is even and low. It is the land she was buried next to. That is different.